Guilty Gear Strive Season 4 dropped on Halloween with a new character and the most significant changes to the cast since August 2023. In this video, we're going to be looking at the patch note changes by comparing them to the previous patch. Now, unlike Season 3, there aren't a ton of system changes to the game. The most significant ones are going to be the changes to defense modifiers and guts to every character. So when you hear me mention something about a character's attack dealing more damage, you're actually going to see me swap characters in the Season 4 patch so that they have the equivalent defensive modifier. Also, as a small note, some characters had bugs that I didn't quite understand, so those were not included. Finally, there's a repeated change about certain reversals being card canceled into supers. Many characters have this listed, but we didn't really know it was a thing besides for Baiken. First, we start with Soul and his 6p. Not only does this move have more recovery, but also it no longer launches on ground counter hit. The first hit of 5k pushes back less, along with having a bigger hitbox and hurtbox. It is also slower than before. The second hit also has this property. 6S has more recovery now. 5H corner carry got reduced. This is a simple example, but in the current patch, this 5H will not reach the corner. They also did the same for JD. So in the previous patch, this would reach the wall, no problem, where in the current patch, it has less reach. The latter half of Gunflame does less damage for some reason. Then we have Heavy Volcanic Viper. So previously this would be used for extensions, but now it immediately wall sticks like Pile Bunker. For Bandit Revolver, they very slightly increase the landing recovery when you whiff the first hit. Just like this. Bandit Bringer. So first they increase the attack level, and on landing, Soul decelerates while moving forward. They increase the height of the ground bounce. This seems to be mostly a combo type of tool. For Grounded Bandit Bringer, they decrease the wall damage. There's only an additional hit here, but I think this shows this pretty well. And then the Air Bandit Bringer got a bunch of changes. It has decreased landing recovery, along with the holding momentum more consistently, as does the falling speed no longer change. And he got the held version removed as well. Wild Throw does more damage. Vortex got a few changes. The startup for the charge version is faster. The damage is lower, but if you charge it, it increased. It also doesn't launch as high, and only knocks down when it's fully counter hit. For Fapnir, Clean Hit was added, and like Vortex, it could be cancelled into, enabling new styles of conversions. It's faster than before, and the normal version does less damage than the old one, but the Clean Hit has increased damage and has more active frames and more recovery. The Guard Crush it had before was also removed. Then we have Tyrant Rave. So this is pretty weird. I didn't know this move had a clean hit, and they decreased the damage on the first hit and increased the damage on the second hit. Then there's Heavy Mob Cemetery. It's 100 meters super now, and Soul actually has the ability to combo into it. Previously, it was a hit grab. Now this super does mad damage. This move could not be comboed into previously as well. So first, Rakai has a bunch of new taunts for fighting Sin. Both 6p and 6h have increased recovery. Tsuntenshi has increased hit stop in Shock State and Dragon Install as shown here as this charge stun edge. It's pretty significant as well, I would say. Food Rock has more falling speed on hit, which means he can't rep it out in combos like before, like this. So in Season 4, you're not really going to get as much return for hitting backdashes. H Vapor Rust got adjusted in Shock State so you can follow up much easier, in addition to getting a SMP change so you can use it more in combos. Finally, Dire sends people back further on counter hit. Then we have May, so 5k is more startup now, but more noticeable is her Far Slash has less recovery. 2S got both, making it the main normal she had that got nerfed. 5H does more damage now, but then also has different properties on counter hit, now launching. 2H also does more damage. 6H also does more damage, but here we're showing the charge version, and also the hurt box of the move is a little bit smaller. Her JH does more damage, as does her jump 2H. as does JD, but also JD has more recovery as well. Her new Dolphin Hop can now be steered by holding forward or back, giving her a little bit more control. Finally, Yamada-san does more damage, somehow. For Axel, a lot of his changes involve damage increases when he spaces the tip of his chain moves, so 5P, 2P, and also 6K, which also launches higher, also 2S, also 2H, also Jump E, also Jump S, and finally his JH, all do more damage at the tip. For a Sickle Flash, they changed the input into a quarter circle and up the damage for it and its follow-ups. So for example, like the up follow-up here does more damage, and Winter Cherry as well, the S follow-up. Snail does more damage in the air and on the ground. So we have a little comparison here. His Tornado special now launches on hit. Before, you kind of just stood there. Remember, this is like -1 on hit. So now it pops up when it hits, giving him a little bit more threat. Rainwater used to vacuum, but now it does not, affecting his combos and offense. Finally, Axel Bomber does more damage. Chipp for starters, his 5P has increased startup, even though now the hitbox is kind of consistent throughout the move. 6P has less recovery now for some reason. 2H now launches higher and keeps you a little closer. K Alpha Blade, they decreased the falling speed and horizontal knockback. Emphasis on slight, I think it's pretty subtle personally. 6H got decreased horizontal knockback as shown in this short combo example. While I was unsure what the wall run change was, he got increases to wall run attacks in general. So wall run K can't be cancelled into itself, but wall run P, both wall run S's, wall run H, and wall run 6H all do more damage. Finally, Zansei Ryoga does more damage and also does more minimum damage, which affects using it as a combo ender. This super was kind of rare, so it's kind of nice to see. Finally, he got a new move in Tightrope Run. So this opens up a lot of new shenanigans with this character, potentially. Now we move to Potemkin. So first, we have to increase to meter gain for walking forward, which has significantly increased. This is faster, just to show, because his walk speed is really slow. And typically in GG, slower characters gain a lot of meter for moving forward, but he gains a ton now. 5P has been made bigger with a smaller hurt box. P is slower, but with more active frames and recovery. His 5K is far more active than before. His 2K has less startup now, but more recovery. In addition to making changes to the hitbox and hurtbox, it leads to more punishes for him that he couldn't do before, like this. Then comes the dreaded change to Potemkin 6K. So Potemkin 6K enabled Potemkin to use momentum to cancel the special moves. And now he cannot do this anymore, but in exchange, it's faster. Farslash and 2S got similar changes where they had a hurt box in the front that some characters were really good at hitting. Of course, I had to pick Mei for this. Close Slash knocks back less, but also does more damage on OTG. So now they're just a pitch closer. JP has increased recovery, as does JS, but JS has less knockback than before. Potemkin is the same distance when he throws characters in the corner now for all characters. Hotbuster does more damage, in addition to sharing the change of throw. He can also now armor moves with this move, and it's bigger than before too to compensate for the 6K. Heat Knuckle does more damage and also pretty much sends you straight to the ground instead of launching you. Heat Tackle has a new input and does more damage, and he lands sooner and the opponent is closer. Mega Fist has less recovery now, but the data on block has not changed. He also jumps higher during it. He's no longer affected by pushback from the move before it, which I assume is to compensate for combos involving Car 6K previously. It also makes opponents fall faster after the bounce. Back Mega Fist has more recovery than before, so it doesn't trade with 4 frames. He also used to be able to trade into a combo, now he can't, and it has a soft knockdown. For Slide Head, he got a Guard Crush on the move, reverting it to its previous version. It used to not have counter hit, now it does, kind of like on launch. Hammerfall has more recovery than before, but it goes faster at the beginning and then slower. Hammerfall Break has less recovery and shares a speed change with Hammerfall. It also, for whatever reason, now has armor. Flick has a bunch of changes. For starters, he can reflect projectiles he could not before. Previously, he couldn't reflect Asuka Cube, but now it goes as far as reflecting bullets. It's slower than before, but with more recovery. And the charge time is now faster, making the charge time the same as it was previously. On top of that, it has invincibility when you reflect a projectile. Guard at Impact is now a projectile, shown here by Baiken's parry, unfortunately losing. But as a projectile, it is now counter hit state for the entire duration of the move, in addition to not having a CH slowdown of any kind, like this one. It does less chip damage than before, addition to more base damage, less hit stop and guard crush time as well, despite the frame data being the same. Heavenly Pop Buster has a new input with more damage. You'll notice it launches a little bit lower than before. Gigantokai actually went off screen before, but now it will reliably linger in the corner. Finally, he has blue Wild Assault instead of white Wild Assault, enabling new pressure and new conversions. So Faust, it is much easier to hit items now compared to before. J2K has more landing recovery compared to before. This is one of his best moves, so I think this is a big change. His air throw actually leaves them closer thanks to a higher ground bounce now, which means he has more frame advantage. For item eat, like May's Dolphin, you can control where it's thrown by holding back or forward rather than throwing it to the middle of the screen, giving him more control over item situations, except for meteors. Hole in One, the follow-up to Scalpel, now does more damage on a clean hit, but in addition, he just can do it now as a new command. Items in general do more damage and have new properties when they're struck with dust or hole in one. Like 100 ton here. Previously, you could only pick up the donut when it touched the ground, even when you hit it. Now you can get it when it's hit in midair. So the banana peel used to cause a soft knockdown. Now it causes a hard knockdown. But also, you can eat the banana when it's hit. So not the banana peel, which will just go through you anyway, but the actual banana. Afro can also be applied when it's hit, but it also does more damage when you set it on fire, like JD. Previously, his DP on block and hit used to stay out forever. It would turn 3 times before, making it so that he can use a lot of items and kind of lock you down. Now it only turns 1 time, so it doesn't stay on screen as long. Trumpet, like other items, can now be hit while airborne. And finally, Hammer has additional properties when hit with Dust or the Golf Swing. Now we have Millia. So first, her air backdash got buffed so she could cancel out of it sooner. When she does, she falls immediately, enabling new mix-up opportunities. 6P has more recovery and less active frames now. They also up the damage of Close Slash. Jump K has higher launch height than before, popping up a little bit more. JD actually does more damage than before, and can be cancelled into air dashes sooner compared to before. Haircar now does more damage compared to before. Mirage has a bigger cancel window. If you play Millia, you'll really feel this for moves like Artemis and S-Disc. Finally, Capable no longer launches on a grounded opponent. She has to go into a hard knockdown now. Zato's XP has increased recovery. Close Slash does more damage now. Far Slash has a higher attack level than before with decreased knockback. 2S is more active, making it harder to backdash than before. 5H has decreased knockback compared to before. 6H is faster than before and has less knockback, in addition to maintaining momentum on landing. Eddy moves just do more damage in general. Pierce, Drills, Frog, and Oppose all deal more damage. The Break the Law teleport got changed, so you could do it as long as Eddy is on the screen. His command grab now gives full Eddy gauge, which kind of reverts him to like Season 2, Season 1 style. Drunken Shade is just straight up bigger now. And finally, Sun Void has less advantage despite it doing more damage. Ram 5P, 2P, 6P all do less damage, and 6P actually has more recovery. But now it launches a little bit. Her kicks do less damage, as does her Close Slash. But the damage on Var Slash is bigger while she has the sword, but when she doesn't have the sword, the damage has actually been reduced. 2S works the same. The damage is higher when she has the sword. 5H just straight up does more damage, as does 2H. Sweet has more active frames, and it's bigger, but it does less damage. JP does less damage, but JS does more damage if you have the sword. JH has been changed, it's active until landing, and it does more damage. JD, another swordless move, again, does less damage. Both versions of Sword Toss has been changed. For starters, you can't pick up the sword repeatedly, rather, you must wait a set duration to get it back now. It also just takes far longer for the sword to come back in general compared to before. S Sword now strikes downward and launches now instead of crumples. There are some unfortunate side effects to this, but unfortunately that's for another video. Daro is slower, but has a significant launch on hit compared to before, leading into a combo. Her flip kick is overhead now, and also does less damage while having increased landing recovery. Previously, she had setups that enabled her flip kick to cross up. These have been removed. Also, the air version has less landing recovery than before. Sabrabato is slower than before, but she can cancel into it now. Her Rekka is slower, but it does more damage, but it also has less pushback, focused kind of on the corner. This change has kind of been done to many characters. Rekka 2 has more startup and recovery, in addition to having a new guard crush when you delay the move. Rekka 3 also has this change, in addition to it being slower as well. It also does more damage outside of the delayed version. Her Air 214S does more damage now. Then there's Calvados. So Calvados previously you could do it basically whenever and she retrieves her swords. Now you could only do this super when you have both swords available. The trade-off is this does far more damage than the old version of Calvados. Finally, Motorboat does more damage with both swords and less with less swords equipped. and the damage reduction is pretty significant. Leo got his dash block nerfed as he now stops when he presses back or down back. His XP has increased recovery. The HDP knockdown leaves the opponent closer to Leo. Dwight now moves slower. Turbulence is a big buff where he has much more pushback than before. This is combined with stance dash, which can now be cancelled to normals. His backdash in stance is now strike and throw invul, shown here with Nago's throw. Stance P, stance K, stance S, and stance H all do more damage. His parry can be dash cancelled when it doesn't catch. His command grab also does more damage in back turn, and his back turn guard crush also does more damage, as does the back turn super. Now Goryuki got new training mode options around blood. So previously you had to manually put him in the level you wanted him, which was really annoying actually. So these new character specific options for blood are much appreciated by both Nago players and people trying to fight against him. And this character came out on launch, so I'm really surprised this wasn't done. His 6P got increased recovery, and his 6K got a Kara cancel on top of having a crumple on normal hit, not just on counter hit. 5H used to be special cancelable, but this was removed. It does more damage and has a hard knockdown, in addition to having a guard crush. 2H got the same style of changes. "6H just straight up does more damage. Now, Blood Rage activation has far more advantage when you combo into it, enabling some extensions. Clone launches higher. His DP does not have a ground bounce on a second hit. It knocks down immediately and won't even combo with RC. Finally, Zantetsu immediately reduces his HP to 1, but it's way easier to combo into and has higher minimum damage than before. Gio's dash carries more momentum now. Her 6P has more recovery. 6H has less recovery on the third hit, in addition to the knockdown being closer. When she has her meter buffs, she is significantly faster than before, in addition to damage buffs. 214K has more pushback compared to before, making it safe, but on IB it's more punishable. Finally, the enhanced 214K cannot be hit by 6Ps at all. Enhanced Power Arrow lost its guard crush. The move travels faster though, and she recovers faster in exchange. When a DP is blocked in the air, people pop up a little bit more and they fall slower than before, giving her more advantage. Enhanced DP doesn't launch as high on ground hit, in addition to the opponent falling more quickly. Finally, she's no longer in counter hit state when she does Chabe to enhance a special move. Next, Anji, his 6P has more recovery. JD does more damage now. Charge Fusion also does more damage. They also gave it more options, letting him follow up with another Fusion, or Ko, or his spin. And they got combo changes mostly around using the move multiple times in a combo. Nagi has less pushback in general, enabling simpler punishes and more consistent ones. Ko's damage went up as well. Rin, the overhead is faster, and it also causes a hard knockdown now. Finally, Kachofu gets to now autocorrects, making it so that people truly have to read this move in order to punish it. For Ino, 6P has more recovery now. Her air throw puts her closer to the opponent now. I think this is mostly for a super jump air throw though. Note got a change that other projectiles in this game have, where it now has no restriction and you can do it whenever you want. And she can pop the note and do another one. It also doesn't knock away as far on hit, and they fall a little bit slower. When you hold forward on Chemical Love, she moves forward. The move also does more damage. Stroke the Big Tree now more reliably goes under moves since she can't stand up until after the active frames end. This is mostly for 6Ps but also for some other moves. MLA has more active frames now. It's pretty much impossible to backdash this move. I'm pretty sure you can't low profile it very easily as well. Charge K dive does more damage, as does Charge S dive. H dive also does more damage, but also it charges faster than before as well. Finally, her super and counter hit does not launch as far as before. For Goldlewis, his 6H does more damage. His security level has some cooldown time now. And when someone swings into him, when he uses a projectile that uses security, it drains much later. So essentially it doesn't drain. This is the main change they did to drone and laser, but it applies to all projectiles that use security. He is now able to cancel Behemoth Typhoon into itself using security meter. And Behemoth Typhoon now has various new properties depending on which one you do and which part of the move that you're hitting with. Generally, these are like uncommon things, like moves like 624 launching at the end of the active frames, or different Behemoth Typhoon sending you in front or behind, or ground bouncing compared to before. These open up new combo opportunities and are definitely meant to be used with his new cancel. Now Skyfish can be controlled, and in addition there's a haha little funny if someone bursts on the wall break. Jacko is one of the only characters I would talk about defense because her risk increases faster than before. Her 6P has more recovery than before. Her 2H does more damage compared to before. Sweep, knockdown sends them further away. And finally, she has a dash cancel on soccer kick that she did not have previously, only when she hits the servant. When HC does dust, he advances now. It looks kind of weird, to be honest. His sweep launches significantly higher than before. J2K now vacuums and always launches on a ground opponent, and all his bullets do more damage, so both the normal one and the steady aim do more damage. Finally, characters can actually swing into Scapegoat and actually hit him. He moves further back faster too. Baiken 6P got more recovery. Far Slash knocks back a little less, making it easier to combo. 5H got changed a bit. It had a wall bounce before, but now it doesn't, in exchange for a ground bounce, which is pretty useful for combos. 2H has less knockback now. 6H does more damage, and a ground bounce was added. JD also does more damage. S Kabari has a very powerful vacuum effect, bringing people point blank. Yozansen now vacuums on hit, enabling new combos and pressure. Her parry has a guard cancel option now, but you could use it in block stun, but the timing is tight. Finally, she was supposed to have both of her damage bugs removed. Here is the PRC one plus the clean hit. The clean hit is still in the game, but the PRC damage bug is definitely removed. Then we had Testament, so 6P has more recovery. 6H also does more damage than before. The big change here is Stain popping on throw. Finally, the strike portion of Testament's projectile now does more damage compared to before. Bridget 6P has more recovery now. Bridget's close slash will always pull people in front of them. JH has this too. Previously, Bridget was able to double jump out of her roll, but instead, now she's able to steer it with up and down. She can't double jump anymore, but this leads to far more varied movement than implied by the notes. Finally, the Roger Super just does more damage, except for the last hit. Sin 6P has more recovery now, as does his Far Slash. 2S has more startup as well. Stamina has more cooldown. Beak Driver follow-up has more recovery, but it also has a guard crush. It has more tumble duration as well, and the opponent is closer. Hawkbaker follow-up has less recovery and more damage. And when it's used in a combo, it launches straight up, which means you can follow up easier. Hoofstomp follow-up has more recovery, but also has a guard crush. and has a ground bounce now as well. Elphelt follow-up does more damage with less knockback. It has more guard crush, but also more recovery. He can also do Gazelle Step raw for a bar of stamina now. Ride the Lightning now spends stamina when you card cancel into it using one of his follow-ups. I think on this one they've kind of gone back and forth. Tyrant Barrel also has this change. Ride the Lightning final hit also does more damage. In addition to Tyrant Barrel doing more damage. Bedman's XP has more recovery now. 5H knocks back further, but on counter it is a ground bounce that keeps the opponent closer to you compared to before. His Fireball does more damage, as do the follow-ups. And the install version also does more damage. This is a theme for all his special moves, so the top does more damage, as well as the follow-up. As well as the super version. H does more damage, in addition to the projectile tracking being better than before and reaching from further compared to before. So reaches from kind of like here, but not like full screen. The guard crush when you charge it is less, and the fireball also has less guard crush. Asuka's 6P has more recovery. His projectile super has less pause in between the hits and hit stop, less pushback, and more recovery, so it's easier to deal with all around for characters. The draw super drains far more mana, but also he's able to switch test cases during it. By pressing left and right, he could switch test case during it. Recover mana recovers it faster, but it lasts for less time. It also continues through hit stop. So before, it wouldn't really go up very much, but now it goes up continuously. But not when he's getting hit or blocking. So before, he would slowly kind of get it, where now he will just not get it at all. It quite literally freezes while he's getting hit. Previously, the instant recover discarded his whole hand, and now it does not. Previously, the random bookmark would only replace the cards in his hand. Now it will totally fill your hand. When he has the low pass gravity staff, he can air dash sooner both ways. When the high pass gravity staff is on screen, DTM now moves further forward than before. He straight up lost level 5 fire cubes. But now the level 1 ones level up faster than before. Finally, the damage has been reduced on RMS Metron level 1 and 2, but it's gone up for level 3, 4, and 5. The guard crush is also shorter, but apparently it could be longer depending on how many spells he's used. This one I didn't quite get, not gonna lie. Johnny's 6P has more recovery compared to before. And Mistfinder had got a change that he had an Exert where he can cut projectiles now. And it doesn't matter how many hits the projectile is. Finally, Nsenga does more damage. Elphelt 6P has more recovery, it also has more active frames. 6H does more damage. Her bomb launches higher and the opponent falls slower, making it easier to convert. 214S has a dash cancel option that she did not have before. Her shotgun follow-up no longer soft downs, it now hard knockdowns and has a wall bounce. Her command super is now a strike and not a command grab. So the strike is what ends up breaking the wall, actually, and the grenade lingers after the wall break. Moves like grenade and 5H now pop the grenade. Also, she got red wall assault instead of blue now. Aba had a technique that let her dash while blocking automatically, and this was removed, and it looks kind of like Leo's. 6P has more recovery, and this applies to Jealousy Rage 6P as well. Normal mode 236K has slightly more recovery. The big thing here is that it's now punishable by throw. On counter hit, she used to get some pretty big combos off this, but now she doesn't really get anything unless it's airborne. The second hit of Danzai now does more damage than before, and it launches on ground counter hit now. Finally, the last hit of her super does more damage. And apparently this last hit does more damage also in addition to how much Jealousy Rage meter she has. Then finally Slayer, so his backdash moves faster at the beginning, making it a little bit easier to use. His 6P has more recovery. His health 6K has much less recovery compared to before. His far slash has different properties on air hit, but it was kind of hard to tell. 2H has more recovery. P Mappa has more knockback, but it also has more recovery as well. Pow Bunker does more damage now. Finally, Super Mappa Punch is not a frame 1 invincible reversal anymore. And yeah, that's pretty much it. That was a lot of info for sure. I just want to say sorry for the delay. Like, normally all my patch videos, even as far back as like DBFZ, I do like day 1, latest day 2. So 5 days after is really late for me. But you know, I'm trying to do a before after type of thing instead of only showing what the changes look like now. And I learned a lot from doing this video. I'm really trying to improve this format, so I'm definitely looking for feedback for future videos like this. As usual, if you have any questions or comments too, definitely feel free to leave them in the comment section. Like and subscribe if you guys feel like it, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.